I don't know if I'm live or not. This technology thing is really fun. I cannot tell. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Concurrent viewers. I guess we're on. Am I visible? We've got a minute before live actually begins. I don't know if I am or not. This is craziness. Yeah, I get that. Oh, goodness. If you're here, I think it's fantastic. If you could let me know in the chat if you can hear me or see me, that would be really great, because on my end, I can't see anything. I'm having so much trouble with tech. Don't you love it? Can you hear or see me? Okay. Sam, good. I can hear you. Video's good. Oh my goodness. Okay. You guys, you have no idea on my end. I've been sitting here playing with this. Oh my God. My son set me up with the coolest thing. However, it doesn't really show. So I'm going to turn that down so I can see. Thank you for being here. I've had a good time thinking about this today. I did some downloads. I sat with my, what I call my angelic tribe, my council, I call them my council, and talked to them about what we're looking at. And again, for you being here, I really appreciate it. Hi, Shelly. Thanks for being here. Chrissy. Like I said, apologies, because on my end, it didn't look like anything was going live. So one of these days, I'm actually going to get this down. So back to predictions and probabilities. Probabilities are kind of an interesting thing. Predictions are an interesting thing. A friend of mine told me today the problem with predictions is it's always about the future, right? So you don't know whether they come true or whether they're not true, or if we're just making basic stuff up. So let me check the chat again and see anything else that's going on. Okay, good. I can actually see. This is really good. Well, as you know, I always like to start my evening with a card because, again, it's kind of fun. I'm really tapped into crystals. I'm sure this is kind of blinding, but such is life. And the card I pulled for tonight for our last Monday of 2020, wow, and it's going to be our last full moon of the year on the 29th and the 30th, depending on where you are in the world. So the card for this week is Aquamarine. I want to show it to you. It's a beautiful stone. It's gorgeous. And it's all about moderation, energy, tolerance, gentleness, compassion, feminine energy, and the goddess. How perfect is this as we literally catapult out of 2020, the year from hell, and into another vibrational frequency, 2021, not to mention we're apexing with a full moon at the end of the year, which is really good. A full moon in Cancer in the sign of Capricorn. So we apply that extra energy onto Aquamarine. So let's see what it says. I have not read this. This is always new to me. Whether male or female, you can overcome a current conflict by reflecting upon and applying moderation, tolerance, gentleness, and compassion. I think we need that more than ever right now. And this full moon, of course, right near the New Year is a New Year's Eve. We're going to be with family and friends, and that Cancer energy will amplify that. What we also have going on in America alone is incredible. I mean, just like the bombing on Christmas Day as an example, there are a lot of theories about that, and we won't go into that right now, but right now we need to have compassion and tolerance about that. We also need to be able to draw the line in the sand, so Aquamarine is really good for this. These qualities are not a weakness, rather they are strength. What is called for at present is greater compassion and tolerance. To me, that's tolerance, this is me personally, tolerance towards all of those who are incredibly blinded by their fear and their unwillingness to step into a brighter reality. That's my issue. That's one of my challenges, okay? What is called for, okay, it's greater compassion and tolerance, that's me, coupled with a little patience and gentleness. It is possible to resolve things in an amicable way to create a positive outcome for all concerned. How fantastic is this? So this is the energy that we are putting out right now at the end of this year. Gentleness and compassion for a great outcome. And for those of us who are in the States, hi Tracy, we all want to have a good outcome. Now, what's very interesting about that outcome, we're going to talk about this in terms of predictions, but the polarities. We are so extreme right now, not only in the world, but especially in the United States. The United States is leading the charge in terms of, I mean, we're the world leader, let's just face it, and we have been. That is our karma, that is our dharma, that is our truth, and our polarity is so strong. It reminds me so much of the Civil War, those who were for slavery and those who were for freedom. Right now we're looking at the same kind of dynamic, freedoms and slavery. I find it fascinating. And what's interesting is that the same energies behind these thought patterns are still the same. The right is for freedom and the left is more for slavery, which I find very fascinating. Doesn't make it wrong or right, it's just a polarity of energy. Personally, I'm not really big into slavery. However, it is something that with the vaccines, with lockdowns, with masks, that's taking away our sovereign rights, that takes away our freedoms. So we have to look at that in terms of how does that play out. So again, we are at the extreme polarity right now. And so showing compassion and tolerance right now, I'm going to work on that because I don't know how you guys are doing, but sometimes I get very, very frustrated and very short-sighted with those who are unwilling to even look at some of the other truths. As you all know, I do post things on Facebook. I get a lot of backlash, and I'm okay with that because I'd rather keep putting information out because eventually it's going to sink in. What's going to happen in terms of predictions for this next year, we've got some big stuff coming, so this is fun. Now, before I go into that though, I want to talk a little bit about this full moon. I want you to think about this. I love how my lives have fallen onto these incredible days, you know, from the solstice to the new moons and now almost the full moon. So these energies are really helping amplify the what I would call the cosmic energies, the intuitive energies, the psychic energies, the unity consciousness in which we are all tapping into, because you guys are just reflecting me, I'm reflecting you, I'm tapping into your energies, you are doing the same, which is really a great synergy. It's a real give and take on that. It's a wonderful thing. I can feel, ironically, even though I'm sitting here looking at this funny light wheel right now, I can feel your presence and I'm tapping into that and I feed back onto that, which is this wonderful unity in strength and strength and unity that I feel that we're moving into this next year with. So with that, know that every one of you right here is making a difference on the planet, which is what we need. I mean, this is really, really important. So again, with this full moon, you can really tap into what it is that you desire. And if there's anything that needs to be resolved within your own personal family dynamic, now is a great time to do it, because the full moon, when the light is shown on it, is an opportunity to look at any imbalances within your own emotional relationship area within your inner circles. Okay, it can be reflected into the bigger world, but really right now this is a focus on family, and how perfect, once again, is that the energies of the universe are lining up with this as we exit this year with a full moon in a family dynamic, to really help us understand why we've been locked down, why we've been confined and contained within our own dynamic. I find, our own little units. So if there's anything that, any stones that need to be brought up and looked at, now is the perfect time to do it. So we're going to cover that back up and move forward. So that's my invitation to you on the full moon. So 29th and 30th, depending on where you are location wise. So the other thing I really want you to think about is, and again, in regards to this, the full moon is also in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of one step in front of the other. It's strong, very resilient, full of accomplishments. If you are at all frustrated that you haven't accomplished everything that you've wanted to this year, now is your time to forgive yourself and relax and say, well, it's okay. We get a pass anyway, because it's not been easy. So with that, I want you to think about that as you move into your New Year's resolutions and the things that you want to create for this next year. Because what's really important is the fact that what we are individually and collectively creating creates the timeline that we want to be in, which is, I believe, all of us want to have unity consciousness. We want to have the masks come off. We want to be in a job that is active and supportive and brings in financial rewards so we can take care of our families. We want to have our friends and neighbors available to talk to, say hi to, give people hugs. We need to be together. So this is our great time to utilize these energies, Capricorn and Cancer. So then think about, what are the good things has 2020 brought into your life? What are the good things? I had to really think about that, because you know me, I'm such a rebel, and to deal with lockdowns like a prisoner has not gone over well for me. Again, it reminds me of the Civil War and that huge polarity. And so I have looked at it in terms of what have been the gifts, what have been the bonuses. And for me personally, it has been lots of new friends. Having you guys here. I mean, I actually did TikTok, love TikTok, did a lot with that. And of course I got kicked out, and now starting fresh. And YouTube is interesting. It's small. I don't know if it's something I will stick with. I might try new YouTube and brand new tube, some of the different platforms. It might be easier to get your foot into. I'm not sure. But that was a positive. New connections there. Lots of new friends, because I've joined different organizations that are in support of human rights, human sovereignty, masks and mandates going away, that we have choices on vaccines. I invite all of you to do these kinds of things, because then it gives meaning to your life, and it puts us all in charge of our own destiny. We can't expect the government and everybody else to do it. I was talking to a friend today I haven't talked to for a long time. She and I went to high school together, and we were roommates my freshman year in college. She'd never heard of, I wonder if I can say this word, adrenochrome. She didn't even know that there were any issues with vaccines. And I'm going, oh my God, this is a woman who's a massage therapist, who's, I think, fairly in tune, and yet not aware at all. And I think that's why it's so important that each of us take that time to expand our awareness, share with others, because it's not until it's on somebody's doorstep do they make a difference. Do they take time to get involved? Because they're always going, not me, not me, not me. And now is the time. It's about us, 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 us. So your job, too, is to dive into this. So ask yourself, what are the good things that have come your way for 2020? And now we move into our predictions. What are the things that you want to put on your list, for your to-do list, your personal I want to achieve list for New Year's Eve? I think it's always a good thing to do. Set out your goals, create your vision boards, those kinds of things. Sorry, I got a tickle right here. And focus on not only yourself personally and your family, but also how you want to see the world our personal, New Year's wish lists, because I call them wish lists, usually are fairly personal. And that's a great thing. And yet at the same time, I really invite each of you to really think about it this year in terms of not only you, your family, your community, your state or province, your country, the world. We need to look at this from such a big picture. So my invitation to you, and share that with all of your friends and family. What are you guys going to put on your wish list for 2021? Think about the big picture. Keep expanding that. I think that's really important, because that goes into the ability to predict when we all start joining in on unity consciousness. Then we create the timeline that we want, and then we create the predictions that I am seeing. Now, I put it out earlier for questions on polarities and predictions, because as you know, I've got clients, and my clients are great with questions, and I love their questions. I have one expert questioner, Cassia. I love you. I got to call you out on this because you are so good. When I put it out to different ones, okay, questions, here's the topic. She is on it all the time. I thank you. I Swami Guru you, because she has such great, clear, concise questions that I think are very beneficial to the whole. So we're going to bring those up in terms of this. Now, what I did, like I explained earlier, is that I did a download this morning, and I wish, because I have this new concept, I was going to read it off because I write it into my notes on my phone. However, my phone happens to be right there taking pictures, so I can't read it, because I was just going to read it off because there was some really good insight. So I'm going to make the best use of my notes as possible so I can remember what exactly I downloaded. Because what happens, it's like when I do a reading for somebody, I don't always remember, because I'm getting the information, I'm reading off that person. So I'm talking to your higher self, and then you are giving me information, and then a lot of times afterwards I forget, because that's your information. If I write it down or I record it, I can remember. But that's important. We're not supposed to remember your personal story, because that's yours, that's not mine. So the same happens a lot of times when I'm downloading information, is I don't always remember it because I'm in this meditative Zen state. So writing it down for me has been very, very beneficial. So again, I'm going to be working through my notes. So let's see, I want to look at it. Predictions. Yeah, the trouble with it, it's always in the future. I love that. And predictions, okay, I want to look at it this way too. When I look at predictions, I have always looked at, even I do this with individuals too, I look at them in terms of your strongest possibility or probability field, and I see one circle, and then I see two others. So I like to look at three. I mean, in truth, there are probably a zillion probability fields. However, then it starts getting a little bit overwhelming. So I focus in on three, the main one and then two subsets. So what I did then was ask for the main probability field for those with the highest and best good. So that's what I would say, the collective of those who are more aware, more conscious. And I'm not going to worry about the subset at this point in time. So the law of polarity is one truth versus another, meaning that, and I'll use Fauci because he's such a great example. His truth and my truth are so polar opposite that we can't even be on the same page. I'm sure that if I look through his eyes, that he sees his truth is absolute, verbatim gospel. He came out with something else foolish today on vaccines and mandates and social distancing and masking, and why should we vax if we're going to do all this stuff? It's just nonsense. But in his perspective, that is his truth. I just find it fascinating. How's that possible? I think he would just be seeing the lies of what he's personally projecting out there. But really, Fauci sees it as truth. So that's a strong polarity. One here, one there. So in terms of polarities, imagine we have a clock. And within, sorry, I got this tickle. I think it's a hair that's in there. Anyway, in there we have obviously the 12 hours of the day, 24 hours. Within, if we look at each of those as a different polarity, a different experience, a different perspective. And so I'm going to put mine at 12 and Fauci's down here at 6, opposite in polarities, right? He sees it one way, I see it a different way. And then we have these others that are also variations of that. Now, the reason we do polarities and why we create them because the earth is a 3D moving into 4D, 5D, all the other dimensions. Yeah. Okay, truth though, in this reality, when we choose to be in this human experience, we have these polarities in consciousness to show us the different experiential aspects, because that's what life is all about. These different experiential aspects. And it's through time, it's through evolution, it's through timelines of our own experience that we eventually move through the clock, as an example, through those 12, and there's many, many more, of experiential moments so that we can gain perspective on what works and what doesn't work. And that's why we have these polarities. And we have these polarities in these world figures right now to show us what works and what doesn't work. What amazes me are the amount of people that are so gullible and so willing to turn over their power to somebody else because they don't want to have to take the effort, make the effort, do the work, do the research, stand up for their rights. Big picture, when you do that, you lose that momentum in your consciousness growth. You just do, because your goal experientially is to experience as much as possible. So when they leave this plane, they're going to recognize that oh, I missed that. Okay, then they have to come back and do it again. From a certain perspective, the earth, this 3D consciousness, 4D, 5D, again, whatever you want to look at, is a prison planet. Okay, prison in what way? Prison in the fact that we reincarnate over and over and over through these experiential probabilities and polarities. Okay, when we do that, I know this sounds way out there, again, we learn and we experience and we grow. The prison part is the fact that we stay in these cycles. There's another aspect of the prison too, is that we have been created as a mobile force of slaves, if you will, to do the work of the elites so that they stay in power, they have their money. It goes back to the way back in our history where we mined the gold, we mined the minerals for the various ET races that were here, that are still here. So on a certain level, again, back to probabilities, into perspectives, into polarities. From a certain perspective, yes, we are a prison planet. From another perspective, yes, we are a prison planet in regards to doing the slave labor for other people, or for other entities, for other ETs, however you want to look at it. So from these aspects, these polarities, it helps us hone in what it is that you as a soul, I as a soul, we as a group, as unity consciousness want to create. And that's why predictions, what you want to predict for your future and what I want to predict for mine and ours as a group, all falls under this umbrella. Because it's never just one thing. It's never just one aspect. That's why I wanted to bring in the probabilities to underline how predictions and how the probability fields work. Again, one strong one and then two opposites, or two smaller ones. And again, there are many more than that. 2 seconds, I gotta get a quick drink. Tina, hi, how are you? Hi, Bonnie. How are you guys? I love this. You guys are from all over. Sam's in Minnesota. I love it. Thanks for being here with me through the holidays. I love this. Oh, you know what I read too, speaking of holidays? That if you see Merry Christmas and Happy Solstice, that is not part of the mainstream programming of happy holidays and consumerism. I'm going, isn't that interesting? There's probably truth in that. I hadn't thought about that till I just said that. So anyway, something to think about. So now I want to look at some of these questions on polarities. Okay. Okay, I want to read what I wrote too. Sorry, I'm just kind of segueing as I go through. First, another setup to learn from Mary Ashton is, yep, and see, this is one of the things I did write. In time, the soul learns what resonates and follows that path, that light cord, as the timelines evolve. And if you really think about that, the light cord of your soul, you will follow that path that you have set up for yourself. Your oversoul has set up. That's why each of you are here with me tonight. You're wanting to wake up. You want to be more of who you are. You want the veil to come off so that in your next incarnation, whether it's on this planet or we actually get to evolve out of this prison consciousness, that we come back with our memories intact, that we don't have to take till midlife or the day before you die to wake up, right? So many, it takes a lifetime because the clouds and the fog is so thick that you have to keep clearing and clearing and clearing to see the truth of your own soul. That's why this is so important to understand the polarities of your own personal consciousness, how they play out in the real world, and how we can create the predictions and the timelines that we want. So follow your light cord. Now, the terms of, I love this, and this goes into some of the predictions. The truth within the next 3 months, January through March, okay? I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring it up again, and that is I truly feel 100% clear that Trump is going to win. It's going to be really touch and go. There's going to be a lot of stuff that surfaces. All the rats are coming to the surface to shine the lights on them, which is great. Again, the polarities, the opposites that show up. And that's really almost a disservice to the rats, because rats aren't bad. They're just a creature. In fact, they clean up a lot of the garbage. Not a bad thing. So I really hate to associate very nefarious souls on the planet with any animals. Actually, I need to come up with a new name, but allowing the cockroaches to surface, how's that? And so these first 3 months, I think what's also going to happen is that there is going to be more truth revealed about some of the different dictator governors. And that's a good thing, because I know ours is starting to get a little more nervous here in Oregon, because more truth is coming out about her involvement within China. Now, this is not going back to those masses, like I told you, my high school girlfriend. However, those who are in the truther movements, in the deplorable movements, who are in the anti-vaxxers, all of us out there are going, nah, I think we need to know more about this, and the truth will be revealed about these governors. And my feeling is over the next 2 to 4 years, depending on where they are in the cycles, will be either impeached. I have a feeling that some, and I can't speak to all of them right now, they'll probably end up, with handcuffs on because of their collusion with the Chinese, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. This is not the Chinese people. They are good people. I'm just talking about the CCP, their involvement with that. So I think there's going to be that. But I do feel the first 3 months there's going to be some revealing of that. I also feel by March, more truth is going to come out about masks, mandates, vaccines, all of that. And so they're going to be ripped off. And the reason I feel this is when Trump gets in, he's going to say enough, we've got to get moving. Hopefully at that point there will be a you can do what you want to concept, because there will still be those who are living in fear, and the rest are going to say enough, enough, enough. The also thing I feel very strongly about in terms of the vaccines is that thankfully, unless something major erupts like a war, which I don't believe that is, again, those are in the sidelines, the major trajectory here is that when Trump comes out, finally wins, there are going to be some really pissed off people, okay, but the rest of everybody else is going to go, thank God, let's get on with it, that when he says we're not going to mandate vaccines, even though he said that, he's not officially in yet, so it can't be the law of the land. When that comes out as the law of the land, other countries will follow. Because I just watched a video today of a doctor, it's on my Facebook, from Italy, and he said he would rather be killed, shot, I hope they don't do that actually to him, in Italy, than take the vaccine. And there are more and more doctors globally that are coming out, so eventually people are going to say enough and not take this. Meaning that if you want to have a vaccine, go for it. If you want to be part of that controlled group, go for it. Because there is nanotechnology in there, and it will mess with you. And personally, I wouldn't do it. I'm like the doctor in Italy, give me a bullet instead of the vaccine. I'm not afraid to die. So with that said, my feeling by Trump saying we're not going to mandate the vaccine, others will follow. Now, there will still be those, like Canada. I really feel there's going to be some pushback from Canada, because Trudeau they'll probably take me down for all this. The crime boss, hi Sheila, the crime minister, I feel like, I just get this too by you guys being here, especially with Tina here. She's our Canadian contingency. That I wouldn't be surprised if he sets up bigger parameters, because he wants to stay in collusion. Trudeau does. I'm getting this just now. He wants to stay in that because if he doesn't, he's going down. Eventually, the Canadian people are going to rise up and say enough of this, and enough truth is going to come out on Trudeau as well. And my feeling is it's not going to happen initially. It's probably going to take into 2022 because Canadians, you guys are really nice people, and you're not used to being warriors. I mean, Americans are. That's why they refuse to give up their guns. And so, but the Canadians, more information is coming out of Canada, which is really good. So again, I feel that within, like with March, there's probably going to be something between Canada and the United States that happens that, you know, wouldn't surprise me. Trudeau keeps the borders closed for another God knows how long. Again, it's all nonsense. Trump, on the other hand, is starting to open up borders, which is a great thing. Again, he's kind of got his hands tied, but my feeling is this: between now and March, things are going to shift. Now, again, I listened and watched a lot of different news, you know, fringe elements, but this is just my intuitive feeling in combination with what I call the intellect being filled. So those are my first 3 months. It's going to be chaotic. So my invitation to you is first 3 months, okay? It's winter time. Think about indoor projects. Think about creative projects. Anything you can do that is creative for you. Now, it could be you want to learn French cooking, or you want to grow herbs in your windowsill. You want to read poetry. I don't care. This is the time, because again, I don't think everything's going to be moving very quickly. So because of this is still time for you to go inward, to go into your internal resources and really pull up that creative expression. For example, I have been working on, I haven't told that many people, I am creating bitters and have been working with different recipes. And then of course, for those who know me, I'm a concoctor. You know, it's like I got the big cauldron going, okay, what am I going to do? And I've got some really good ideas on creating anti-aging and healing bitters. Bitters you don't think about, but it's something that you can take a little shot of every day and give you energy. So that's what I'm working on. That's going to be one of my creative endeavors for the winter. So my invitation to you is, in these first 3 months before we get to spring, is to really think about that creative expression, because when you do, it will help you override any of the negative outside energy that is still pretty dominant out there. So again, that way you stay in your light, you staying in your zone, and when you're in that vortex of energy, that creative flow will then create more positivity. That more positivity spreads out to your family, etc., etc. So that's my invitation for the first 3 months. And then as spring, it's time to plant those seeds. Plant those seeds of truth. Plant those seeds of things that you want to do. Again, it is your job to be a co-creative sponsor, a co-creative manifester in your own life. Again, so many wait for it to happen. This is not the time for that to be that way anymore. It is your job, strictly on your shoulders, to create what it is that you want. No more pointing fingers, no more shaming, no more any excuses. Now is your time. Now it is what it is. So let's see what else is on my, okay, governors, lockdowns, vaccines, good, okay. Oh, the other thing too about this, in terms of how things are unfolding, the image that I was given was, I'm sorry if these are glowing, is a ball of yarn. And, you know, think about it as the earth too, but as it unravels, right, we are unraveling this ball of yarn, and eventually it will get to the core. So we'll get to the core truths. As we unravel another layer, we've gone through, again, to the earth, we're going to look at the surface, and then we're down to the mantle, and then once we are at the mantle level, we start going down, it's going to go much quicker. So the revealing of truths this next year, this is the revelation. This is why it's termed biblical. The revelation is the revealing of the truth, and once it starts going, once it's been set up for Trump to be in power, it's going to go really quickly. Now, my frustration, of course, is this. Oh, good. I love it. You have a vision about Oregon Governor Elaine. I just saw that out of my eye. This is good. We want that. We want her to go down in flames. Sorry, I don't mean to be negative. We need to have truthers here in Oregon. We need to stand up for that. So I like that. But back to this revealing is my feeling on the yarn coming down or coming off, right? We're making our new reality over here as we're spinning off the old lies is that, of course, I want all the truth to be out there. I want the truth on the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, what's his name? The CIA director. I mean, he's really bad news. Why do I always forget his name? The ex-CIA director. He's really bad news. He's really big in, by the way, in pedophilia and trafficking, things like that. He's really bad news. So do I want all that stuff out there? Absolutely. Will it take a while for it to unravel? Yes, but it will. My frustration is I got this today that I have a feeling very strongly that how it will be presented, other than to those in the outer fringes, will be treasonous acts rather than with involvement in what I would call the global Illuminati, the global cabal, the deep state, the 13 families. I don't think all of that's going to come out in the way that, personally, since I've been doing this for 20 years, the deep state stuff, started reading this literally in 1999, that I would love for it to come out, but I don't feel that everybody can handle that. So my feeling is that the truth will come out in waves and in ripples for people to truly understand in a way that they can grasp it. It's like how Trump talks today. He talks as if he's talking to fifth graders. I know that's sad, but it's true, and it's because then people get it. He repeats things because it takes 3 times to repeat things for people to get it. So if you put it into that kind of perspective, then we understand how things will take a while to get to the core. And again, maybe some of the truths will never come out, such as George Bush Sr.'s involvement in the Kennedy assassination. Maybe that won't go out to the general population. Maybe that'll only be us fringers out here that will truly understand the depth of that. But again, my feeling is the truths are going to start really unraveling as of March, April, May, and by June, I feel that's when we get into more truth is going to come out about the pedophilia, the human trafficking, but it's going to take till then. We got to work through so many other things. So that's going to come out in June, bits of it, and by September there will be another revealing, and by this time next year there will be that much more that's been revealed about the pedophilia, the human trafficking, the adrenochrome. So many people still don't know about that. I mean, those of you who are in the chat probably already know this about Chrome is a search engine for Google, and their company above that, underneath it, however you want to look at it, it's called Adreno. Yeah, it's right in front of our faces, adrenochrome. So these are the things that are going to come out in increments. So I really feel this to be a part of it. Okay, let me see. Oh, I also want to remember to share that the ETs, angelic forces, the ones that are helping to anchor in this shift with us, are helping to hold the energy with their love, their alignment, and yet at the same time they're really not able to infringe upon our free will. The ones in the darker polarities, again we're talking about polarities, they can infringe in a way by revealing ahead of time what they're going to do. So that's how they can go and bypass those rules and regulations. The positive forces just show up with their energy. So they are here. They've helped neutralize, for example, any of the nuclear bombs that have been tried to be detonated over the last 20, 25 years. They have stopped it. And so on a certain level, I feel they are here to help through their energy frequencies to help with the chemtrails. I think they've helped neutralize that. I also feel like Trump's forces have been helping that as well, because if you look in the skies, yes, we still have a few chemtrails, but so many are gone, and that they are here to help neutralize the negative aspects of these vaccines. So we just want to hold that vibration for those who are forced into taking vaccines, that we're asking for these angelic forces to help neutralize any of the negativities. Like I was talking with Cassia earlier, again, my questioner extraordinaire. And, you know, there are those people. I don't think a business should force a vaccine on a so-called virus that is 99% curable. I just think it's wrong. It's called control. They're doing it because it's compliant, right? Makes them look good, but it's bullshit. It's nonsense. But anyway, the good guys are helping us. Okay, now to the questions. Where are we on time? Okay, again, my questionnaire extraordinaire said, polarities and predictions. She brought this up. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to bring up in terms of, before I get to her questions, on predictions. And if any of you guys have any questions, you can throw them in, because I do have it over here. And I love the fact you guys are all communicating. It's fantastic. Okay, I'm just looking at that. Okay. So you guys can ask any of those. Ask any questions. So polarities. Why do we need them? We need these extremes. And again, it could be from 12 o'clock. Remember, I used the clock. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, or it could be 12 to 6 o'clock. North Pole, South Pole energies to show us what we want and what we don't want. Because otherwise, and I've said this, for those who've been in my classes, I have said this for years, if we lived in almond bliss all the time, we'd be bored out of our brains in a certain amount of time, and so we would go create drama somewhere. That's what we do, because we want the experiential experience. We want the experiential situation to teach us, to have us grow, to have our souls learn, to have us learn the this and the that, the joys and the pain. We wouldn't know darkness if we didn't have light. We wouldn't have light. We wouldn't know how beautiful the night sky is. I mean, we all know this, but sometimes we need to be reminded when life gets tough. I mean, I know more people than I would like to, that lost their homes this year in the fires, and or have lost their businesses and their homes. I mean, it's so sad. I feel for them. I send them love and light, and I give them hugs of compassion. So those are tough lessons. However, big picture, no accidents. They are here to learn from it so they can teach others not to be victims. Positive. So we need them. Okay. Now, is polarity always the exact opposite? No, exactly what I just said. Polarities can be from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So you're opposite in just enough that it can be frictionalized. It can cause tension, where it just irritates the shit out of you. Or it can be enough to say, it's not that important, right? You can let it go. So each of these levels are here to teach us so that you can really fine tune who you are. Imagine this. If you didn't have, okay, good. Imagine this. If you did not have these oppositions in your life, what would guide you down your life river? What would guide you to your best destination? If it was all just easy, after a while you'd just be going, okay. I mean, think about it. The elite, that's why they do the crazy things they do, because they're so bored, because they don't have to have any challenges. So they get high, they, have sex with too many people, on and on and on. So that's why we have these things, to teach us so we can have that adventure. Think about this as the Hobbit. We have the adventure, the Hobbit's adventure. It's a good thing. I'm going to look at this as a question. Got a set for Christmas for my hubby, so I'm very green. I meditate on your words and throw out a question on how it turn out next year. Good. Pull the Judgment card, and bottom of the deck was the Wheel of Fortune. Wow, those are great things, Tina. I hope everybody in the chat can see that. That is fantastic, because think about that. The Wheel of Fortune is about positive things. It's literally about rewards coming your way. And Judgment, exactly. Talk about dialing into the energy of this group, Tina. That is flipping brilliant, because everybody in here is very intuitive, very awesome, right? And you just pulled in because you tiled into this group because we are connected on soul links, right? Remember, we've talked about that before. And you just added into the whole Judgment aspect. Absolutely validates what I feel is coming this next year, because there are going to be a lot more indictments, like on, what is his name? Why do I always, the CIA guy, and Cuomo. I mean, how did this man ever get an award? I don't know. He goes around with nipple rings. I mean, the guy's Looney Tunes. So we're going to send that Judgment card out to the universe to support what it is that we are working for in our predictions for this next year. I love this, because they are showing us what we don't want. Perfect. Okay. Why do we choose romantic partners with opposite polarities? Of course, to drive us nuts. They show up in our lives because we relate on certain levels. I mean, think about this. Because if you put it back to the clock, the 12 and the 6, you also have the 3 and the 9 that are part of that trine, that square, and that cross. There we go. And within that, we learn from each of those aspects so that you have things in common enough to pull you together to show you what the polarities are to say, yes, I want that. No, I don't want that. And for you to move closer to that middle ground. And personally, just because of me, I don't mind the opposites because it pushes me. It can piss me off, but it makes me work harder. I like that. Some people need it to be much more closely aligned because then they feel safer, more, it just goes more smoothly, however you want to look at it. Everybody's different. But knowing that we chose, and I know the person, Cassie, who chose this, you're like I am. You like the challenge. We like challenges. And if it's not enough of a challenge, you get bored. That's why it works. Challenges are a good thing. That's why we set up life the way we do. So great question. And do polar opposites attract? Absolutely. And how can I use it to level up? Okay, if we think about polarities as an opportunity to improve, to grow, to be more of who we are, you can look at what someone says or does, their actions that are going, are you kidding me? And utilize that as a great conversation piece to bring them to the middle to talk about. So you can say, okay, can you explain to me your behavior or why you believe that way? Can you validate it? Can you substantiate that? Can you give me your background on it? A lot of people aren't willing to go into their past to say, God, I didn't realize that my actions are derived for something that happened when I was 6 because I watched my parents, blah, 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 right? And so having those conversations can really help drive positive change. And this is exactly in the big picture what we need right now with those people in our lives that are incredibly clouded with fog to say, okay, explain to me why you have those beliefs. What gives you an anchor in reality with those thought processes? Because here's a whole set of facts and figures that will tell you something else. So the more open you are to having those conversations and being open to what they have to say, I say that with sunglasses on, and showing them the path of truth is a great thing. So that's how we level up, is showing them empathy, compassion, and of course a path to the light. Because you know me, guys, I can't just let it go. Okay, now predictions. Great questions. I gotta keep discomfort builds character. Absolutely, Tina, that was brilliant. I'm gonna have to share that elsewhere. That was just so good. Thank you for that. Okay, back to Cassie's questions. Can anyone really predict the future? Yes and no. Because if you were to look at your own personal future, if you dial in what it is that you want and you focus on that with undivided attention, you can create the reality that you desire. So you can create what it is that you want. Let's say that you want to have a restaurant. Why restaurant right now? Anyway, a restaurant, and you want to have it opened up by December of next year, and these are the menus, and you're going to learn all this, and you're so laser focused on it, that prediction that you have made will come true because you're putting every effort into it. Because again, we talked about the fact that we all have our own individual timelines underneath the umbrella of the global timeline, right? So you can predict that. When it comes to other things, I feel we all have the opportunity? I mean, look what Tina just did. Brilliant. And she's new to it, and yet she dialed into her intuition, pulled out her cards, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am, and away we go. Fantastic. I love it. So when you tap into your own intuition and you really trust your heart, you've seen me do this before. I use my left hand because I happen to be right-handed. You can do it opposite, doesn't matter. Hand over your heart, and make sure you're in alignment, in your light, grounded, connected to source, in that light. Then you have the ability to align with that. Again, think about probabilities, because you want to pick the highest and bright probability. A lot of people like to dial into negative probabilities. Well, I'm not going to bother with that. Yeah, there's a potential that we could have World War III. Well, that's not my probability, not your probability, not our timeline. So we're not going to even predict that because it's not the reality that any of us want to live in. For example, the fact that Tennessee was just bombed. There are people that are saying that it was a dude, which is direct energy weaponry, okay, out of China. And so when somebody said that to me today, I said, I'm thinking there was some complicit action within the United States that helped create that. I'm not going to put the whole onus on the CCP. I'm not going to. It doesn't feel right. There's a bigger story being played out. So again, you have to trust your intuition and your light and feel what's right for you in the world that you want to create. Over here, this probability, yes, it happened, but if we focused on that and then we get all fearful, we can create World War III. We're not going there, okay? We're not going there, so it's back to predicting. So can anybody start? Of course. But you have to trust yourself. You have to dial into the higher dimensional planes to tap into the fact that all time is simultaneous. This time frame has already been, it's already come and gone from a certain perspective. Those in the future looking back on us, this has already happened. So if you look at it that way, we have the ability, all of us, to tap into that. Again, you have to trust it, believe it, you know, basically taste it, touch it, feel it, believe it. I mean, that's really what I do. So I trust the information I get because whoever's guiding me, my higher self and my counsel, gives me really good, clear information. What's really fun for me is, and this is kind of a selfish thing, is so many of the people that I have followed individually for the last 10 years or so, maybe longer, have all started coming together and forming groups of consciousness, which is fantastic. And I love the fact that they're out sharing information that I've talked about for a long time, and that are putting it out there into the world, and they've all connected. So again, on a certain level, I tapped into that, and they're all coming together. I'm not necessarily a part of it, but I'm a part of it on a silent level. You have the ability to do that as well by focusing in on the things that resonate for you and tapping into your heart. This is really big. And if you go forward, then you know you're in alignment once you're in your light, and if you go backwards, you're off track. So you can start working with, okay, predictions. Am I going to get a new job? Is the economy going to get better? Are the mandates going to go away? All of these things you can start asking yourself and seeing what happens when you are in alignment. So can anyone do this? Yeah. Not everybody. I say you guys because you're special, because you're in tune. However, everybody else, no, because they're blinded. They don't resonate at a higher frequency. They're not tapped in. So, yes and no. It's one of those catch questions. Okay. If you do, how do you sort between opposing timelines? Great question, because that kind of goes in line with what I was just talking about. We don't want to focus over there, right? We don't want to focus on World War III. We don't want to focus on global mandated vaccines. Hell no. Not going there. Not in my life. Not in my timeline, right? Not yours. So if we're looking at those as opposing timelines, and that can happen, we're only going to focus on what it is that we desire. And the more all of us, and again, then all of us share with other people, we focus on this brighter timeline and see it literally in your mind. And this is truly how I see timelines. I see them as circles, because circle is the symbol of consciousness, really. And so you see that, and you see that as the time tunnel. When I was a kid, there was a great show called The Time Tunnel. There was a lot of dissemination of information in that show, as well as Star Trek and Outer Limits. I'm trying to think, those were the three big ones at that time that were definitely revealing truths. Pretty cool. So they had this spinning circle. So if you look at something like that in your mind, that's what you focus on. You focus on what it is that you desire, and as if you open a door and walk through it and see what is it you want to see. Now here's something that's very interesting. In 2011, I think it was 2011, I went to a conference in Mexico with my husband Dale, and we did this group consciousness or meditation, let's put it that way, on predictions. What was going to happen on 2012? Well, it was funny is we were sitting up in the front row, and I was, of course, next to my husband, and I saw us at our house with snow, and that it was kind of gray and dismal, which is typical Northwest weather, and the family there. So many people in the group had really bought into the concept of annihilation, of war, of negativity. It was very fascinating. A group of what I would say were more enlightenment seekers. Very interesting. And Dale and I both had the same kind of concept. Well, it's going to be a little wet. And of course, 2012 came and went. And yeah, we raised our consciousness. It was a portal between 1987 and 2012 where we basically said, no more intervention, leave us alone. We are on our own, no more ET intervention. that there was a shift. But again, back to probabilities and the polarities and the timelines that you want to focus on. Think about where you want to be. Don't listen to the negativity and focus on what it is that you want. And then look where we are, which is really cool. Hope that makes sense. Time is speeding up. Does that affect predictions? Okay, let me explain that one. Here's the Earth. Excuse me, wrong. Here's the Sun and Earth. And it goes around in this elliptical, 26,000 year, 24 to 26,000 years, 26,000 years essentially. Elliptical, Mayan grand year, great year. Comes here. And it takes you out to the end of the elliptical. I hope you can see this. Comes back. And as it does, ironically, it feels like time is speeding up. But because of how the pendulum is swinging, it actually is that time is slowing down. Our consciousness is speeding up. That's what's cool, because we have so many of us that are linked up that our consciousness is speeding up as we're moving. So when we hit that apex and we turn back towards the source of the sun, right, as we're coming back through and we're now in the age of Aquarius, not completely anchored in, that sense of time is going to continue to shift. So does it feel like it's speeding up? Yes. Well, for me personally, I'm older, so of course it's going, God, how did another year go by? But it's also impacting our children. The children feel it faster as well. Does that change the timelines? No. What it does is it forces us, forces our focus to be more clear and more strong. So I really invite all of you to talk to your family, to your children, your grandkids, whomever, to focus on their brightest and best path. We have been programmed by design to think of the negative stuff, to go over here and over here. And so with time on a certain perspective speeding up, the more important it is as we go further into our collective future to focus on what we desire, we want, and having our children focus on this as well, on themselves personally, in terms of their friends, etc., etc. So does it impact us? I don't think so, other than it makes us really be more and more mindful, and that to me is a positive thing. Okay, what factors affect being able to predict the future? Another great question. What factors? Okay, factors to me are how you think, right? How do you personally think? Because again, we're programmed. And if you were to really be mindful, or if you had a way to record your thoughts that you go through over 24 hours, you would probably be blown away at how many sabotaging thoughts that you have, we have, I have, right? That it doesn't matter what it is. I'll use one as a funny example. A year of change. I have had naturally curly hair my life, okay? This year my hair decided to go straight with COVID. It's like, what the hell, right? So I look in the mirror and go, who are you? What, you know? So it's one of those, on a certain level, negative thoughts. So I've got to change this, going, oh, wow, okay, this is cool. This could be, I could be Michelle Pfeiffer. She has straight hair. I think she's gorgeous, right? So, okay, you know, changing perspective, right? I know that sounds trite, but it's funny and it's true. So when you look at how we focus in and what are the factors, it's how we think. So if you start monitoring on a regular basis, you can even set up a time on your watch to say, okay, every 12, 12:15, 1:15, I don't care, whatever it is. What are you thinking right now? And go, ooh, I'm over there, bringing it back, and being very, very mindful. So again, as time is speeding up, these factors can start to dissipate so that you can stay within the strongest probability of and the strongest timeline, so the predictions that we are creating right now move into the future. So that's the most important thing, is to be incredibly mindful. So again, set your watches. Put that on your New Year's list of wish list. Okay, I'm going to do this. You know, those set of personal directives, whatever words you want to use, is to add that in, because then we can create. So to me, that's the number one factor, is how we think, and which goes underneath that to our beliefs. Where are our beliefs holding us back? Where are they limited? And what I feel to be very true are the limiting beliefs that we have been taught. I'm not good at this. I can't do that. I'm too old. I've never done that before. On and on and on, right? So limiting beliefs. No, I don't believe that. I've been taught this, so I know this is true. How do you know it's true? Because if you were from Alpha Centauri, that wouldn't be true. So how do you know that's true? So the other thing I invite all of you to do is really question your beliefs. What is true for you? What has been taught to you that somebody else believes that you have now adopted as your own? Really examine all of those, and that goes from politics to religion. I really invite you to look at those to say, now why do I believe that? Was I told that? Do I know that 100%? Or are there other truths that could possibly mitigate that? So these are things that make a difference on being able to predict the future. Let's see. Straight hair, love you. Builds character too. Thank you. I appreciate that because, like I said, all my life I've had curly hair, so you have to look at it from a funny perspective, right? You have to laugh with things. And the way, when you laugh, then it changes, God, it just changes the frequencies, right? Don't you all feel good about laughter? In fact, right before I came on, a friend of mine, she said something, this is really funny. Well, I didn't get a chance to watch it because by then I was having tech issues. So, tech issues, what is it with me and tech? Not good at this, great with magic, not so great with tech. So anyway, I want to put out an invitation to all of you to think about what it is that you would like to predict for your future. What is it that you would like to see for your life personally, your families, your community, your province, because now we have 2 Canadians with us, which is really fantastic. We don't have our guy from New Zealand tonight. What I love is creating this core group of very intuitive, very amazing souls here, because again, we have this ability to make things happen. My only disappointment is that, yeah, we can chat, but I'd love it if you were talking with me, right? But New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, take a moment, think about what it is that you want to predict in your own personal life. Mine is, like I said, I shared that secret earlier about my bitters. Mine is that I'm going to find the recipe. I'm going to put it out to the universe. So that's on my prediction list, that I want to make that happen. And think about your creative time. This is so important. Again, this is our last full moon of 2020, and within that realm, we have this opportunity to really focus on our personal relationships within ourselves and with our family. I have to, on a side note, I just have to. Okay, I know I've probably talked about this before, but I have to bring it up again. About the moon. The moon. I read a lot, I intuit a lot, and then I go with what feels right. Now this is going, some of you might have heard this. Some of you might think I'm crazy. Some of you are going to say that's not possibly true. My son, who's very open, kind of goes, Mom, I don't think so. Anyway, the moon. Imagine back when the universe, the solar system was being created, and we had these different, what am I going to call them? Creator gods? No. Creator races. Yes, races that came in here, literally pulled in the moon as a spaceship and left it in our orbit. Now what that moon did is set up eclipses between the sun and the moon. Imagine if it weren't here. There are those scientists that say we wouldn't have the tides, we would be overwhelmed by oceans. However, what if the moon wasn't there? We would have a much more temperate climate, right? It's pretty fascinating to think about. The moon actually, and this is out of NASA from back in the 60s, that they drop things on top of it and it rang like a bell. There are recent people that have come out and say that it's rusting. And there are other people that have talked about the inner corridors, because they're saying that all the planets are hollow. And of course the moon really isn't a planet, but that it is filled with layers for people to live, or beings to live. So fascinating to think about. In the meantime, I still like to think of the moon as our goddess of emotion. We're going to stay with that. But bigger picture, the reality, that's the thing. Reality is so multifaceted, so multi-tiered, that if we focus on the moon is this, maybe it's really made of cheese kind of thing from our kid time, that the more you're open up to, maybe it is something that's been moved in, maybe it is an old derelict spaceship, maybe that it is hollow, maybe all the planets are hollow. The more we branch out on what our beliefs are, the more we create the probability and the future timelines that we desire. When we are stuck so much in the past is when we stay stuck in our prison of beliefs, our prison ship. So, okay, let me just see what else. I got to put my glasses on, guys. You feel it well. Straight hair builds trout, too many positive ions. Absolutely, it absolutely does. Laughing, anything is possible. I love you guys. So, discomfort builds character, no kidding. But going back to Tina, I love the fact that you pulled those 2 cards. So those are fantastic. I love this. So now, I'm putting out the invitation because I won't talk to you until 2021. Amazing. Is I really want you to think about, again, we talked about your creativity, but really start going in, trusting your heart, tapping into your intuition. That is my job, to teach you how to do this. Tap into your body, listen to it. Whatever it desires, it needs, really hone in on it. Listen to it so we don't go into these other probabilities of illness, disease, and focus. We want to stay healthy. Whatever it takes, make it happen. And really hone in on what it is you came here to do. On a scale of 1 to 10, everybody knows this about me, I tap into 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is a good relationship, or your health is 10, or whenever I tap into anybody, I always ask, what is your will to live and what is your life force on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so in terms of 1 to 10, here is your invitation, is where do you feel you are in terms of your life goal for being here? You came in here with a mission, everyone did. Are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you at a 3? Are you at a 7? Are you at a 10? And if you're not quite there yet, what is it that you need to focus on to get there? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be the president and CEO of some company. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that inner emotional growth. So what is it that needs to be cleared to get that to that level? That's why I question your beliefs. And then think about what you want to predict for next year, and trust that things are going to come out okay. You know, I love the fact that I've got people here from Canada, because again, I don't know if, Jason, if you were here earlier when I was talking about your crime minister and keeping the borders closed. I mean, I just find it fascinating. So the more that we unite across the borders and stay on the positive vein, holding hands across, Tina, Jason, you and I, and everybody else here, so that we can keep things open. We are going to create the reality that we want. It's going to be pretty crushing in some ways, but just know you all signed up for it. I signed up for it. You signed up for it. So any other questions on predictions at all? Or did Tina just dial it down to a gnat's eyebrow with 2 cards? I think that's pretty cool. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Cassia, you're the rock star. I'm trying to think if I got everything, if I missed anything. You know, we chose this on purpose, right? We chose this on purpose. And that's why we're all here. That's why we're all here in this group. And one more thing before I say goodnight. What's really cool, I met Jason on Twitter. I met Chrissy and Tina on TikTok. Sam, I met in Mexico ages ago. Bonnie came to one of my classes, came to one of my readings, and then I spotted her magic abilities. Tracy I met probably, 12 years ago. So a really great connection with everybody. Sorry, I'm looking over here. It's because that's where I can see the chat. So I thank you all. Happy New Year's Eve energies. Work on your predictions. Let's talk next week. Come with questions. I love it if you send me, you guys can send me questions anytime that we can talk about. I love questions. Next Monday, shoot me some questions. You can text me. You can email me. Oh, I hate Facebook. But Twitter, right? You guys can question. I like questions because it just creates a synergy that's really fun. So with that, I send you love and light. Thank you all for being here. Very fun. Work on your predictions and let me know what they are. Love you. Bye. If I can turn this thing off. Love you, Sam. Love you, love you.